My name is Devdutt Pattanaik and I write on mythology, and I always begin my talks by defining mythology. It's always good to define a subject over which many people seem to have a lot of opinions without reading anything. So mythology is the study of how cultures imagine themselves. Every culture imagines itself in a particular way and communicates its imagination in three ways. There are only three ways it can imagine: stories, symbols, rituals. Stories that you hear, symbols that you see, rituals that you perform. So how does a culture imagine itself is an important word, because imagination is something that we don't talk about. So let me explain it using an exercise. How many of you can measure money? How many of you can measure money? Raise your hands or don't raise your hands. Can you measure how much money you have in your wallet or in your bank account? Can you measure it? Yes? No? I know it requires a little bit of thinking, but think about it. Can you measure how much money you have in your bank, even if there is none? Yeah, you can measure it. So we can measure money. How many of y'all can measure jealousy? Is jealousy an important part of human existence? But we can't measure it. Management is the study of the measurable. You can only manage that which you can measure. But you cannot measure jealousy. So nobody talks about it. The greatest scientist in the world cannot measure jealousy. So conveniently never talks about it. There is no Nobel Prize for reducing jealousy. There is a Nobel Prize for peace. You can measure peace. You can't measure jealousy. Jealousy is not part of global discourse. Wealth is. Power is. So economists are important, politicians are important, activists are important, but where is the person who is trying to reduce jealousy? Are men more jealous than women? Is there a report which says that? Will this report tell us that? Who is more jealous? When was the last time you had a conversation on jealousy? A conference on jealousy? Nothing. We never talk about it. Because we don't want to talk about things that is outside our control. We only want to talk about things that is inside our control. And yet jealousy, as every advertiser knows, is an important tool to increase sales. मेरी साड़ी तुम्हारी साड़ी से सफेद कैसे? या तुम्हारी साड़ी मेरे साड़ी से सफेद कैसे? My daddy is strongest. My daddy is bigger than you. My daddy is faster than you. My mother is smarter than you. We constantly use comparison and competition to succeed, to increase sales, to measure equality. Because equality is a mathematical term. But is equality objective or subjective? How do you measure equality? How do you control jealousy of someone who has a lot? So this is an important idea, because mythology studies imagination and therefore cannot ignore jealousy. Because stories, symbols, and rituals always talk about jealousy. You cannot escape it. So when I talk to people who talk about science and measurement and mathematics and reality, I know they're talking of the measurable world. So when you have a word which says, I think the talk is myth to reality. Reality here means that which is measurable. Myth is that which is not measurable. And someone decided if you can't measure it, it's a lie. And we bought it. So when someone uses the word, I was hearing the session before mine, we have to progress. Who bought this myth? Why have you bought this myth? That we are progressing. Is this real or imaginary? Because progress is based on a mathematical concept. You have less, you get more. You have less, you have more. Or you have more, you have to become less. It's mathematical. Progression is mathematical. Talk to anyone who studies calculus. Regression, progression, all these are mathematical concepts. Where did they come from? Why do we believe that the past was regressive and the future will be progressive? Look at the way I'm using my body language. Geometry. Geometry is hierarchy. We are using geometry. Who told you that the past is bad? Who tells you the future is good? The CEO who makes a vision statement? Because that's how we are imagining. A vision statement is the imagination of a corporation. How the world should be. And we have decided the whole world has the same imagination, and so everyone has to go to the same vision. But that's not true. Mythologically, when I read the Bible, I will hear the story, God created man in his own image. This is the beginning of the concept of equality. Because everybody is born in the image of God. But then you will notice they say man, not woman. Because woman shall be obedient to man. So you have a narrative which says all men are created in the image of God, and women shall obey the man. But biblical mythology, while very powerful, is not the only mythology in the world. There are mythologies in other parts of the world which don't say that. There are mythologies which say, when you read the Veda, it will say, society is an organism. Society is an organism, it is healthy. It has a head, it has arms, it has a trunk, it has legs. This is the head, this is the arms, this is the trunk, this is the head. If society has to be healthy, the head, the hand, the trunk, they all have to talk to each other and they have to collaborate. But when we look at the story, we instantly say head is superior to the feet. The story doesn't say that. The storyteller doesn't say that. The audience receives that. And suddenly you see there are two concepts. One culture which begins with equality, and the other culture which begins with hierarchy. So you have different cultures. And as you move eastwards, you come from a biblical worldview. The world, easy way to understand, if you want to use a secular language, I will use the world of cutlery, where people eat with fork and knife and spoons. And then you cross West Asia, you come towards South Asia, and you come to cultures which eat with fingers. And after you move further east, you come to cultures which eat with chopsticks. And the cultures with chopsticks says, we don't care what you think. We will build a wall around us and keep out. So the Chinese once had a great wall, now they have a firewall. They have progressed, but the wall still stands. Because if you look at Eastern cultures, whether it's Japan or Korea or China, they are called hermit kingdoms. They have never liked the outsider. They have created walls which filters ideas and adapted to what it needs. So when Buddhism travels to these countries, it is not the Buddhism that Indians are familiar with. Chinese Buddhism, Japanese Buddhism, Korean Buddhism is very different. In fact, in China, Buddha transforms into Bodhisattva, and Bodhisattva becomes a woman called Guanyin, because the one who patronized it was an empress who realized the only way to defeat the Chinese court is by introducing a new religion called Buddhism and declaring herself as the Buddha. This happened in 800 AD, 1200 years ago. So the mythology of the West is not the global mythology. The mythology of India is certainly not the global mythology, nor is it an inferior or regressive mythology. And the mythology of China, well, nobody bothers to study. All we know is yin and yang and chow mein. Because everything is behind the wall. Everything is hidden by a language that nobody can read. And yet the world tried 20 years ago to create globalization with the rise of the World Wide Net. 20 years ago when I started my career, well, actually 30 years ago, you had words like the global village, because the internet would change the world. Today we have toxic nationalism. Did we progress or did we regress? Who decides? What's the geometry you choose? Which is the geometry you choose? Because are we progressing or regressing? Was globalization a good idea? Or was it a trick for rich Americans to outsource industry, both the manufacturing industry to China and the service industry to the South Asia, so that they could grow richer while their own citizens became poorer? Was it as a clever trick? Were you caught in the trick? And are we paying the price of that trick? So how is society progressing? How should society progress? What is the change we want in our lives? The capitalist will say you should earn more, be richer, be bigger, be smarter. You have to keep growing. The socialist will say you have to restrain and create a world of equality. We have to annihilate religion. We have to annihilate caste. We have to annihilate gender. We have to annihilate nation states. Because only when I annihilate all structures will the world become a better place. Because if there is no structure, there is no hierarchy. So we don't want men to exist, we don't want women to exist, we don't want upper caste, upper class, lower class, monotheistic religions, polytheistic religions. We don't want developing nations, we don't want developed nations. Let's just remove the structure. In fluidity, there is no up and down. So these are the different mythologies we deal with. Which is the right mythology? It is like asking which is the right way to eat. Should I eat with chopsticks? Should I eat with fingers? Should I eat with cutlery? Science will tell you you have to eat. You have to eat carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. But how you eat it, in what form you eat it, really is cultural. It's not natural, and it's certainly not refined. Because every culture finds the other culture to be barbaric, savages. We have been conditioned to look at the past as evil, and we are progressing towards being modern. So the pre-modern was bad, the modern is good. Now we realize modern is not good, so we have post-modern. And if you're intelligent with language, you will create the post-postmodern. And wait till your grandchildren come alive. They will look at you as savages. They will see you as the worst creatures on earth. You all spent all your time with the cell phone. Such barbaric people. Because the world keeps changing and rediscovering itself over time. And it's important to understand this context before we talk about masculinity and femininity. Because we don't talk about this context. I've always seen the mythology in which we function. If you don't understand the mythology in which you function, you do not understand the language that you use, and you start believing that you are the righteous one. You are better than others. You're smarter than your grandparents. They were fools. You are better than your grandmother, and your granddaughter shall be better than you. Bet she will. Because she's going to abuse you and mock you for doing what you are doing, and you won't like it. And yet, we are so comfortable mocking the past, because that was oppressive, and we are the liberators. But the world goes, if you look at the Jain traditions, and you look at the Buddhist traditions, and you look at the Hindu traditions, they will say, you know what, there is no finish line. Life has no finish line. The concept of finish line comes from Western mythologies, which say happily ever after. There is a concept of judgment day. There is a concept of qayamat. This does not exist in the rest of the world. It is a Judaic, Christian, and Islamic concept. Judgment Day, or the concept of God as judge, is a Western myth. It doesn't exist in Hinduism, it doesn't exist in Buddhism, it doesn't exist in Jainism. Jainism and Buddhism don't even have God with a capital G. Buddha doesn't judge you, doesn't care. The Tirthankaras don't care. They say if you make a mess with your life, you will be reborn. What's the big deal? You will never escape this world as long as you are stupid. There is no punishment required. Stupidity is its own punishment. And stupidity is not measurable. So everyone who thinks they are smart, remember, there is no report card out there which will tell you you are smart or stupid. You imagine yourself to be smart and stupid. Every troll thinks he's a genius. Therefore, I aspire to be a great troll. The one who knows more than anyone else. But that's all in the imaginary world. It doesn't exist in reality. Indian mythology looks at things as it rises and falls, rises and falls, rises and falls. So use the Jain vocabulary. It is Uta Sarpini, Ava Sarpini, like a serpent. Things come and go, come and go. So at this moment, you could say, I am going to go up, or am I going to go down? It could be Uta Sarpini, it could be Ava Sarpini. Now, is it objective or subjective? And in which context? From the point of view of your health, something is happening. From the point of view of your wealth, something else is happening. From the point of view of your relationship, something else is happening. We are always rising and falling. It's all happening simultaneously. And everybody we meet is in a different zone. Language is complex. Anyone who reads Wittgenstein knows it. We live in our games. We play our games. We will never have a standard language. Remember the story of Babel. We are doomed not to understand each other. So all we can do is be a bit kind. We have to be a little kind. Again, kindness is not measurable. When you look at the world in a framework of battle, oppressor, oppressed, the framework has been drawn where someone has to be punished because we are the judges of Judgment Day. You can change the vocabulary and say, everybody is stupid. Let's work towards making people less stupid. Because in stupidity, we are cruel, we are insecure, we are frightened, we are terrified. We take decisions because we want to feel superior to the other. The capitalist wants to save the world, the socialist wants to save the world, the libertarian wants to save the world. The world is not bothered with saviors. The world just moves on. you will go away. Steve Jobs is gone. Nobody remembers him. But the technology he gave changed the world. For the better or worse, matter of opinion. But it changed the world. It's there. It's going to remain. We have to work with it. So the language changes. When, I saw the slide before, it said provider and protector. These two words were used for men. Now, Indians in the room, please talk to people. Many people are not from India, I can see that. Google the image of Durga. She's the goddess with weapons in her hands, fighting weapons. She looks like a protector. So it's not a male form, it's a female form. When I say provider, Google Annapurna, the goddess of kitchen. And there you will see a goddess with, instead of holding weapons in her hand, she is holding food in her hand. She's a provider. Are they two different goddesses? No, they are not. They are the same goddess. Who is the warrior and who is the provider? Is she inferior to her partner? Well, let me tell you about her partner. Her partner is Shiva. He is never hungry. So all the cooking goes to waste. And he's frightened of no one. So who is she protecting? So you have a husband who is never hungry, who is never insecure. What do you do with such a person? He doesn't need you. He doesn't care for you. He doesn't want what you cook. He doesn't want you to save because he doesn't need saving. Can you have a relationship with such a person? And the goddess says, you know what? Your confidence and your lack of appetite make you useless. Because life is about dealing with people who have hunger and fear. We want something. I'm hungry for something. My customers are hungry for something. My customers are afraid of something. My CEO is hungry for something. My CEO is afraid of something. The next org change. The richest people in the world, and I have had the privilege of working with the richest and the most powerful. And the only thing you see when you sit with the rich and famous is their hunger and their fear. Because wealth does not take away hunger, it only amplifies it. Power does not take away insecurity, it only amplifies it. You want to meet insecure people, go and meet powerful people. You want to meet hungry wolves, meet the richest people, the billionaires of the world. I once sat in a private jet where I was told by the person who owned 7 private jets, life is so unfair. And I agreed with him because my invoice was on his table. Hunger and fear has no gender, but it is what makes us human. Imagination has no gender, but it is what makes us human. We want someone who will feed us. We want someone who will take care of us. We have imagined this role to be given to men, but the scriptures don't say that. We have chosen to receive it. The problem with language is no matter how clear you are, no matter how kind you are, the person in front of you can say, stop gaslighting me. Your children will say that to you all the time. Mom, stop gaslighting me. Because you have given them that vocabulary. You have given them the vocabulary to silence you. So anybody can use the word and manipulate it in any way we like. And so let's look at the stories again and relook at the stories and say, what are they really talking about? And to me, what these mythologies talk about is human hunger, human fear, and coping with life. And so the goddess who holds a sword in her hand, the goddess who cooks, looks at her husband because she chooses him. He doesn't choose her. She chooses him. She says, I will marry you. I will domesticate you. I will make you vulnerable. I will make you hungry because you have to be human. Gods don't have to be people. Hindu gods are not all powerful. Hindu gods are not all merciful. They have the same hunger and fear that you and I do, but they have better coping skills because they have a goddess by their side. You cannot have a Hindu god without a goddess. The goddess completes him, makes him aware of his vulnerability, his aspirations, his dreams, and how good and bad it is. Because if you're hungry, you want me. If you're frightened, you want me. But hunger can also make you a monster. Fear can also make you a monster. What creates a good relationship also creates a toxic relationship. Because if you are the one who is always eating, who feeds me? So I want to conclude this talk with a little story from the epic Mahabharata. The epic Mahabharata is 2,000 years old. It tells you the story of a man called Bhima, mighty Bhima. Very, very strong, so strong that he killed a demon of hunger, Bakasura. The one who was always hungry, who ate everything. He ate not only the food you gave him, but he also ate you. Very much like your boss, who is never satisfied because there's always a target, and after that there's another target, and there's another target, and there's another growth. Endless growth is the Bakasur trap. So consumption economy has a god. We call him Bakasur, which, by the way, is the name of my next book. Do buy it. Bakasur is defeated by Bhima. And many years later, he finds himself in a very terrible situation. Everything has finished. He has lost everything. He's thrown out of his kingdom. He has nothing to do. And he's wondering, he's scavenging for food everywhere. How will I feed? He's hungry all the time because he's hungry. He is called Vikrodara, the one with a wolf bellied, someone who is so hungry that when he consumes something, he immediately digests it. So he needs to eat it all the time. And then he looks at his wife, Draupadi. And Draupadi is saying, she's also unhappy. And says, aren't you unhappy we are poor? And she says, well, I'm not unhappy that I am poor. I am unhappy that I can't feed people who come to my house. So she prays to the gods that give me something by which I can feed the guests who come to my house. So she's not bothered with her poverty. She is bothered with her inability to be a good host. So the gods give her a vessel, a magical vessel. It's called Draupadi's Thali. And it's a very unique cornucopia. It's not a cornucopia. It looks like a cornucopia. It is always overflowing with food. But there's one condition. As soon as Draupadi eats from it, it will stop producing food that day. As soon as she eats, the food stops. And the next day, it starts producing food again. So now Draupadi is in a dilemma. Should she eat or should she not eat? Because as long as she doesn't eat, she can feed others. And so she keeps feeding and feeding and feeding, and her house becomes famous as this place where everybody goes to eat the best food. And at the end of the day, when everybody has been fed, she quietly eats her meal in silence and goes to sleep. Glad that next day she'll wake up, the food will be there, the guests will be there, and she'll feed people. But then Bhima comes along and he says, oh my God, I've got a pot where I can eat everything. Oh my God, I can eat everything in the forest. Because he's an entitled brat. He can eat whatever he wants. He can keep eating whatever he wants. And he tells Draupadi, serve me this, serve me that, serve me this, serve me that, serve me this. And she sees serving and serving and serving and serving. And she's enjoying him eating until one day, Bhima looks at her and says, oh my God, she's becoming thinner and thinner. And her bangles, which never used to twinkle, have started to make sounds because now she's become so thin. The bangles are making sounds. And looks at her and he says, oh, she has not eaten. And she can't eat because if she eats, there's no food going to be produced. And if there's no food, who will feed me? And now Bhima has to make a choice. Does he keep eating or does he feed her? And him not eating, he feeds her. And that's when a transformation happens. That life is not about feeding myself. Life is also about feeding others. You feed me, I feed you. We are both here to live a life I am hungry, I need food. I am frightened, I need security. But so are you. You are hungry and frightened. And I need to take care of you. And Bhima stops eating and starts feeding Draupadi. And that's the day they finally became modern. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Pattanaik. It's always like a masterclass every time that we hear you. So if I can please open the floor for some questions.
Yeah.
Let's take the very first question. Over to you, sir.
If I've understood you correctly, you're saying that if it can't be measured, it's not real, it's a myth. Is that right?
It comes in the realm of myth, yes.
So with black holes, we know that they're observable because we've used telescopes to measure that, but there's no mathematics that can measure the inside of a black hole. So to my mind, that doesn't quite...
No, see, the thing is, that's the problem. We stick to the realm of physics. Let's talk in the realm of psychology. Black hole is something to do with physics. We're dealing with human beings. Human beings cannot be explained through physics.
Going back to the point about jealousy, I know I've experienced jealousy. I'm sure everyone else in this room has experienced jealousy. Are we saying that jealousy doesn't exist? Or
yes, because you cannot measure it.
But I've felt it and others have felt
it.
Yes,
that's why. The definition of myth is subjective truth. That's what I said. Subjective truth. The realm of imagination is not false. I imagine jealousy. Is it there? For sure? How do you know? Because you can't measure it. Are you imagining the person is jealous of you? Or the person is really jealous of you? Is there an objective way of finding out? If someone says, I am never jealous, is it right or wrong? How do you know? It's like saying I'm celibate.
I still don't get that connection between subjectivity and mythology. Because I think...
Okay, mythology is the study of subjective truth communicated through stories, symbols, and rituals. Yes? If you don't buy my books, 199 rupees, I will send it to you.
All right, thank you.
Hello, sir. I'm Geeta Patel, and I just wanted to ask you, sir, that you were talking about we are doomed to not understand the language, and we are talking about men representation here, and in epics like Ramayana, Ram himself is being called as Maryadam Purushottam. So he becomes like an epitome of a man that we want to bring in reality by being one of those. Same goes for Sita. Being a great wife, she ends up becoming an epitome for the woman. What are your thoughts about that, sir?
Yeah, Hindu mythology is not just Ram and, right? Krishna is called Leela Purushottam. So do you want men to be like Ram or Krishna? Do you want him to be faithful to a single wife or have many, many girlfriends? What do you want? Do you want a wife who is faithful to the husband or one who is faithful to 5 husbands or maybe 6? Which wife do you want? You are given a buffet. Indian mythology is a buffet. The one faithful husband abandons his wife. So I'll give you an example of how mythology works. If you see the film Crown, the mini-series Crown, now it's in literature, it's a work of a mini-series, it's storytelling. You start listening to it, forget the details, you start feeling it. In Hindi the word is bhav, bhav dekho, bhavartha dekho. And when you see this mini-series Crown, you ask yourself, is the queen a good person or a bad person? Who does she privilege? The institution or the family? And as the story progresses, you know it's the institution always wins for her. A grudging respect, not a great mother, not a great wife, but a lovely queen because she brings stability. Although kings come and go, prime ministers come and go. Now you look at Ramayana, great king, terrible husband. So it's the emotion that is being captured through the story that cannot ever be measured or presented on an Excel sheet. You can never present Ram's emotion or Sita's emotions in an Excel sheet, but it is real. Therefore, you need literature. Therefore, you need the arts. Therefore, you need architecture. This reveals so much about the artist who designed it and the people who funded it. If you have the eyes to see. Bhavartha dekho. See the emotion behind things. So mythology is the study of emotions. How? But I can't see emotions, so I need a packaging. The packaging is the story, the packaging is the symbol, the packaging is the ritual. If you see the festival, you understand so that's how you do it. Yeah? Thanks.
Interestingly, mythology is imagination, but it's also imagination that captures the collective imagination and shapes people's behaviors. By that logic, the idea of democracy, socialism, these are all mythologies. But
yes,
enough people believe, and that's why collectively. And globalization was a mythology which seems to be on a shaky ground right now. Interestingly, the mythologies which seem to have survived and even gone stronger are the ones who are hundreds and thousands of years old. And the ones that we've tried to create in the last couple of centuries all seem to be much more fragile. And why is that so?
Well, it depends on what is your timeline and time scale. There was no Ramayana and Mahabharata in Vedic times. I know if I'm being camera, people will get upset. But the epic Ramayana and Mahabharata are 2,000 years old. The Vedic story I told you is 3,000 years old. What was there 5,000 years ago? I don't know. Harappan, what story did they say? I don't know. But when I look at their architecture, I know the architecture, they are a people who don't like glamour. They have no monumental architecture which contemporary civilizations like Mesopotamia and Egypt have. So you don't have the pyramids which sort of, just by the sheer size, are intimidating. When you go to Mesopotamia, they had these ziggurats which were intimidating. But when you go to Harappan civilization, which is on a flat plain in the Sindhu's valleys, they're just flat buildings. There never was a higher building, lower building. Everything was well organized. So what does it tell us about that civilization? How did they imagine? Did they imagine egalitarianism? So some people argued that this was an original communist state. Some people argued that, and somebody counter-argued, saying, well, they showed hierarchy not through architecture, but through jewelry. The problem is I can't see the women wearing jewelry. But he said that, there are thick jewels and there are thin jewels. And thick jewels are worn by the laborers because it won't break when you're working. And thin and fine jewels are worn by the rich or the privileged or the old person who doesn't work. So there is hierarchy, and it's not all egalitarian. So we don't know. But the idea of egalitarianism and hierarchy, this is universal. And if you go deeper and deeper, it is neuropsychological. Globalization really comes from the desire, when you say it's efficient. Your left brain loves efficiency. So you love standardization over customization. So egalitarian ideas really come from your left brain. Left brain controls your right hand loves efficiency. But hierarchies come from your right brain because we want to feel special. We feel great when others are jealous of us. It feels great. What is reward and recognition? Everybody else in the audience is jealous of you because you have won the award, you have won the trophy, you have what we want. So jealousy is the vocabulary I use nowadays, as you can realize. But that becomes a necessary because I feel good when others are jealous of me versus a society where nobody is jealous of anyone. The two possibilities are really coming from the human brain. So really, mythology starts taking you back to human psychology. It is not cultural as much as the way our mind functions.
Are you saying it's not possible to admire or appreciate somebody without feeling jealous?
I don't know whether you do that because there's no way to prove it objectively. Or you will always say, I admire you, but I'm not jealous of you. But how do I know? How do you prove it? How do you prove the absence of jealousy? You can't. You never can. You need a third person to tell you he's jealous. That's why you need God, a witness, who seems to know everything and can telepathically figure out what you're thinking. But really, take my word for it. I'm not jealous of you. You're right. So that's the world of subjectivity, yeah?
I wanted to check with you, so if you look at the modern world, the rituals of success or the symbols of success seem to be a few. I was just wondering whether in mythology there was some other rituals or symbols of success that perhaps we have, which are not.
Thank you. That's a great question. So I'll give you this is a great question. A great way to conclude it, really. India's most successful community financially are the Jains. They're the richest community in India. They control, and they're now the favored ones. So they have the maximum share of GDP. Minority, right? Less than 1% of India. Who do they worship? They worship a man who has no clothes, who has plucked out his hair, who is not looking at the world, and he wears no clothes, he is just walking around. It's called Digambara, the sky-clad, the one who has given up everything. So the people who are the most aspirational, the most ambitious, the most hungry, and pure vegetarian, and therefore non-violent, in food habits only, worship someone who has given it all up, and saying true success is when you're so content that you don't need food and you don't need power and you don't need to control others and you have no desire to be jealous of others or others be jealous of you. You just walk around naked. That is the Digambara images that we see. It's a symbol of what is considered successful. So at one side you have this image of a Digambar, and to counter that you have another symbol of the goddess Lakshmi sitting with Vishnu in a lotus pond, surrounded with white elephants who are showering her with gold and jewelry, and they are living in the ocean of milk where all the treasures of the world can be imagined. So you choose, because one follows the other. One follows the other. You rise and fall, you rise and fall. What is rising and what is falling? Is Vaikuntha above and Siddhakshetra below, or the other way around? That's up to you to decide. It's all how we choose to imagine success. Thank you.